They mocked a black woman walking her dogs, until those dogs revealed the kind of training that could drop an entire gang to its knees. The sun dipped low over the quiet outskirts of Ashtonville, painting the horizon in fiery reds and deep golds. Maya Johnson tightened her grip on Shadow and Titan's leashes as she walked along the deserted road. To anyone passing by, she looked like an ordinary woman out for an evening stroll with her dogs. But those who knew the truth understood. These weren't just pets. Shadow and Titan were veterans, once part of a K-9 unit that had seen more combat zones than most soldiers. Maya's boots crunched against the gravel when the rumble of engines shattered the silence. A gang of 5 bikers roared down the road, leather jackets catching the last glimmers of sunlight. Their leader, Clint Crusher Harris, slowed his Harley, eyes narrowing on Maya. The rest of the gang, Rex, Jackson, Cole and Travis, fanned out behind him like vultures circling prey. "Well, well," Clint sneered, pulling off his sunglasses. "What do we have here? Evening walk turned into bad timing, sweetheart." Jackson laughed, revving his engine obnoxiously. "Bet she's scared out of her mind. Look at her, just a black woman with 2 mutts, easy pickings." Maya's pulse quickened, but her face stayed calm. She had dealt with men like this before, loud, cruel, fueled by hate. Her hand brushed Titan's head gently, a silent signal. The Belgian Malinois stiffened, alert, muscles coiled like springs. Shadow's low growl vibrated through the still air. Clint dismounted, swaggering closer, boots thudding heavily on the asphalt. "Tell you what," he mocked, "why don't you hand over those pretty dogs? They deserve better than to follow someone like you." Maya met his stare, her voice steady, sharp. "You picked the wrong woman, and the wrong dogs." Shadow bared his teeth. Titan leaned forward, waiting for the command. The gang had no idea. They weren't walking into a fight. They were stepping onto a battlefield. The night air thickened with tension, the fading sun giving way to shadows. Clint smirked, mistaking Maya's calm for fear. "Boys," he barked, "let's teach her how things work in Ashtonville." His gang laughed, their voices crude and sharp against the stillness. Rex hopped off his bike first, cracking his knuckles as he swaggered forward. "Don't worry, lady," he taunted. "We'll take real good care of those dogs." His hand reached out toward Titan, but the Belgian Malinois' ears pinned back, eyes locked, waiting for Maya's signal. Maya's voice cut through the night, steady, commanding. "Shadow, hold." The German shepherd crouched low, growling, every muscle primed. Rex hesitated, a flicker of unease flashing across his face. "Oh, come on," Jackson shouted from his bike. "She's bluffing, they're just dogs." But Maya knew better. She had trained alongside these animals. She trusted them with her life. Slowly she straightened, her tone sharp as a whip. "Titan, engage." In a blur, Titan lunged. The biker never saw it coming. Rex stumbled back, his arm nearly ripped from its socket as Titan clamped down on his leather jacket sleeve. He screamed, falling to the ground, thrashing helplessly. Shadow erupted next, leaping forward with terrifying precision. He lunged between Clint and Cole, forcing them apart, teeth snapping inches from Clint's hand. The leader's smirk vanished, replaced by shock. "Control your damn mutts," Travis roared, grabbing a rusted chain from his bike. He swung it wide, the metal whistling through the air. Shadow dodged, snarling, his movements too sharp, too trained to be random. Maya stepped forward, her silhouette backlit by the moon, eyes hard as steel. "They're not mutts," she said, her voice carrying over the chaos. "They're soldiers." For the first time, the bikers realized they weren't hunting prey. They had awakened predators. The night exploded into chaos. Rex writhed on the asphalt, screaming as Titan's jaws held firm on his sleeve, refusing to let go. Shadow circled Clint, forcing the gang leader to retreat a step, something he rarely did. The other bikers exchanged uneasy glances. They had come expecting an easy scare, not a battlefield. Travis swung his chain again, sparks flying as it scraped the ground. "Get 'em off," he shouted, his voice cracking with rage. Cole pulled a switchblade from his boot, the steel glinting in the moonlight. "Dogs or no dogs, she's still just one woman," Jackson yelled, trying to rally the group. But even he hesitated, his bravado cracking under the sound of Titan's snarls and Shadow's snapping jaws. Maya raised her hand, calm, deliberate. "Shadow, guard." The shepherd planted himself in front of her, blocking Cole's path with a growl so deep it rattled the biker's chest. Cole's blade trembled in his hand. He jabbed forward, but Shadow lunged, forcing him back with terrifying speed. Clint's voice boomed across the road. "Enough! She's playing you! They're just animals! Finish this!" With a roar, Travis charged. The chain whirled overhead, striking down hard toward Maya. In a blur, Titan released Rex, spun, and launched himself forward. The chain wrapped around Titan's torso, but instead of stopping him, it gave the dog leverage. He yanked Travis off balance, slamming him to the ground with bone-cracking force. Maya's eyes narrowed. She wasn't just surviving, she was winning. "You don't get it, Clint," she said coldly, stepping forward. "These dogs were trained to take down armed men in war zones. What chance do you think you have?" Clint's smirk faltered. For the first time, the gang leader's confidence wavered. He wasn't facing prey, he was standing against a soldier and her war dogs. Clint Crusher Harris had ruled Ashtonville's outskirts for years through fear alone. Nobody dared to oppose him. Not the townsfolk, not the sheriff, not even rival gangs. But now, standing in the glow of the moon, he saw his men stumbling, his authority slipping, and it burned him alive. "Get off the ground, you cowards!" Clint barked, yanking Rex to his feet by the collar. Rex's arm hung limp from Titan's earlier attack, his face pale with pain. Travis struggled to stand, chain dangling uselessly from his trembling hands. Cole and Jackson exchanged nervous looks, their earlier confidence evaporating. Clint stepped forward, towering over Maya. His leather jacket creaked as he squared his shoulders, fists clenched. "You think a couple of trained mutts scare me?" he growled. "I've broken men twice your size. I'll put those beasts down myself." Maya didn't flinch. Shadow stood at her side, lips curled, while Titan prowled in a slow circle around Clint, eyes locked on the leader, like a predator sizing up prey. "Funny," Maya said, her voice low but sharp. "Soldiers twice your size thought the same thing. None of them are standing today either." Clint roared, lunging forward with a wild punch aimed at Maya's face. In one swift move, Shadow leapt, intercepting the strike. His teeth clamped onto Clint's wrist, jerking him sideways. The leader howled, struggling to shake free. Titan seized the opening, charging low and fast. His body slammed into Clint's legs, knocking him flat onto the asphalt with a thud that echoed across the empty road. For the first time, the gang leader was down. Dust rose around him, his authority shattered in front of his men. Maya stepped closer, her shadow looming over him. "This isn't your road anymore, Clint." The gang exchanged glances, fear creeping into their eyes. Their leader had fallen. The night air was thick with the sound of Clint's ragged breathing as he struggled to rise, blood dripping from his wrist where Shadow's teeth had torn through his leather glove. For the first time, the self-proclaimed king of Ashtonville's roads looked human, fallible. His men stared in disbelief, their idol brought low by one woman and her dogs. "Don't just stand there," Clint roared, spittle flying. "Get the damn weapons!" Jackson, his hands trembling, scrambled to his bike and yanked out a sawed-off shotgun from a hidden compartment. The metallic click echoed through the night, a sound that sent shivers down spines. Cole followed suit, pulling a long iron pipe. Travis, still dazed, retrieved a set of brass knuckles, while Rex, clutching his wounded arm, fumbled for a pistol tucked in his waistband. Maya's eyes narrowed. She had seen this escalation before. Men realizing brute intimidation wasn't enough, so they reached for steel and lead. She took a slow breath, steady and controlled, then gave the softest whisper, "Form up." Shadow instantly shifted, standing squarely in front of Maya, hackles raised, a wall of muscle and fury. Titan circled behind, flanking the bikers, his paws silent against the gravel. Jackson lifted the shotgun, aiming it square at Maya. "Game's over, lady," he sneered, though his voice cracked under the weight of his own fear. Before he could pull the trigger, Titan lunged from the side like lightning. His jaws clamped on the weapon, twisting it violently. The blast went off, deafening in the night, but the shot fired into the air. Sparks rained as pellets scattered against a metal road sign. The bikers froze. The dogs weren't just fast, they were surgical. Clint's eyes widened as realization set in. This wasn't a fight anymore. This was survival. Smoke from the misfired shotgun drifted in the air, the acrid scent of gunpowder clinging to the night. The gang hesitated, shaken by Titan's lightning-fast strike. The Belgian Malinois dropped the twisted shotgun to the ground, his teeth still bared, a growl vibrating through the silence. "Don't just stand there," Clint bellowed, fury overriding his pain. "Take her down!" Travis charged first, brass knuckles glinting as he swung a brutal punch toward Maya's face. But Shadow intercepted with military precision, lunging upward and clamping onto his forearm. The sickening crunch of bone echoed as Travis screamed, dropping to his knees. Cole swung his iron pipe in a wide arc, aiming for Shadow's ribs. Maya's voice cut through the chaos. "Titan, intercept!" The Malinois surged forward, knocking Cole off balance before the pipe could land. Cole toppled backward, the pipe clattering uselessly onto the road. Jackson, trembling but desperate, pulled a switchblade and lunged straight for Maya. She sidestepped, her reflexes honed from years of training. The blade slashed air instead of flesh. In the same instant, Shadow released Travis and pivoted, forcing Jackson to stumble backward into Titan's path. Titan pounced, teeth sinking into Jackson's boot, dragging him down hard onto the asphalt. Rex stood frozen, pistol in hand, sweat dripping down his temple. He aimed shakily at Maya, finger tightening on the trigger, but Maya's voice thundered like a commander in battle. "Shadow, disarm!" The Shepherd launched with terrifying speed, colliding with Rex's arm. The gun fired, the bullet sparking harmlessly into the dirt. Rex screamed, the weapon skittering across the road. Dust, blood, and fear hung heavy in the air. Clint's gang was crumbling before his eyes, every move countered with ruthless efficiency. For the first time, Clint Harris felt it, the cold grip of fear. Clint staggered to his feet, blood dripping down his wrist and fury blazing in his eyes. Around him, his gang lay scattered, Travis clutching his shattered arm, Jackson pinned under Titan's crushing weight, Rex whimpering without his pistol, and Cole gasping for air on the asphalt. The empire he had built on fear was collapsing in front of him. But Clint Harris hadn't earned the name-crusher by giving up. With a guttural roar, he reached beneath his leather jacket and pulled out his true weapon, a massive steel bat, scarred and dented from years of violent use. The streetlight caught the weapon's surface, casting a cold glint that promised pain. "You think you've won?" Clint snarled, pointing the bat at Maya. "These mutts are nothing. I'll crush their skulls and then yours." Maya's eyes narrowed, her body steady, unflinching. Shadow growled, stepping forward, but Maya raised her hand, signaling patience. Titan circled wide, eyes locked on the weapon. Clint swung hard, the bat whistling through the air toward Shadow's head. At the last moment, the Shepherd dodged, the blow slamming into the pavement with a thunderous crack that sent chips of asphalt flying. Shadow countered, teeth snapping inches from Clint's thigh. With frightening speed, Clint spun the bat in a deadly arc, forcing Shadow back. Titan darted in, aiming low for Clint's leg, but the gang leader anticipated the move. He swung downward, the bat smashing across Titan's flank. The Malinois yelped, stumbling sideways. Maya's heart clenched, but Titan rose again, limping slightly, eyes still burning with fury. Clint laughed, chest heaving. "See? They bleed just like everything else." Maya stepped forward, her voice like iron. "No, Clint, they fight through pain. That's the difference between you and them." For the first time, Clint realized, Maya wasn't commanding dogs, she was leading soldiers. The road was a war zone. Titan shook off the sting from Clint's brutal strike, standing tall, his breath coming in heavy snarls. Shadow paced in front of Maya, hackles raised, eyes locked on the steel bat that gleamed menacingly in Clint's grip. Clint smirked, tapping the bat against his palm. "One by one, I'll break them. And when they're gone, you're next." Maya's lips curved into the faintest defiant smile. She straightened her shoulders, every inch of her presence radiating command. In that moment, she wasn't just a woman, she was a general marshalling her troops. Shadow, flank left. Titan, circle right. Her voice cut through the chaos like a blade. Shadow darted low, circling Clint's left side with surgical precision, while Titan slipped to the right, moving with the silent menace of a predator. Clint spun, trying to track them both, his bat swinging wildly. Sweat trickled down his temple as he realized he was surrounded. "You think tricks will save you?" Clint barked, swinging at Shadow. The Shepherd darted aside, forcing Clint to overextend. At that exact moment, Titan lunged from the right, slamming into Clint's hip with bone-jarring force. The leader stumbled, dropping to one knee, but he roared back, swinging the bat upward. The steel cracked against Titan's shoulder, the Malinois grunting but refusing to fall. Instead, Titan locked his teeth onto Clint's jacket, twisting with ferocious strength. Shadow seized the opening, leaping onto Clint's back, teeth snapping inches from his neck. Clint staggered, thrashing violently, his confidence crumbling with every second. Maya stepped forward, eyes blazing. "This isn't about strength, Clint. It's about discipline, about loyalty, things you'll never understand." Clint's knees buckled under the combined force of the dogs. For the first time, the King of Ashtonville looked small, cornered, desperate, and utterly outmatched. Clint roared in frustration, blood streaking his face as Shadow and Titan pressed their assault. With a violent heave, he managed to fling Shadow off his back and stagger upright, panting, the steel bat slick with sweat and blood. His pride burned hotter than his wounds. "Get up!" he bellowed at his broken gang. "Rex, Jackson, Cole, Travis, get your worthless hides off the ground." One by one, the battered bikers stirred. Rex clutched his mangled arm but crawled forward, hatred in his eyes. Jackson limped, his boot shredded by Titan's jaws, switchblade trembling in his grip. Cole grabbed his iron pipe again, jaw clenched, while Travis forced himself up, brass knuckles still strapped to his swollen hand. The gang formed a loose circle around Maya and her dogs, their breaths ragged, their bodies bruised, but desperation gave them strength. Clint raised his bat high. "We end this now, all at once." Maya exhaled slowly, her pulse steady. The dogs stood at her sides, Shadow's deep growl vibrating like a drumbeat, Titan's eyes blazing with unbroken fury. She crouched slightly, her voice sharp and calm. "Formation Delta." Shadow darted forward first, weaving between Cole and Jackson with lightning speed, snapping jaws forcing them to stumble apart. Titan circled wide, locking eyes with Rex, who raised his pistol again despite his shaking hand. Before Rex could aim, Titan lunged, dragging him down into the dirt with a cry of agony. Travis swung his brass-knuckled fist at Maya, but she sidestepped cleanly. Shadow intercepted, ramming into Travis's chest and knocking him flat with a wheeze of stolen air. Jackson slashed wildly with his blade, only to find Titan's teeth sinking into his wrist, the knife clattering to the ground. All around, the gang's final charge crumbled like glass. Clint stood at the center, watching his empire dissolve. And for the first time in his life, fear outweighed fury. The road echoed with the groans of beaten men. Rex writhed in the dirt, clutching his ruined arm. Jackson screamed, his wrist mangled from Titan's crushing bite. Cole crawled backward, pipe abandoned, while Travis gasped on the asphalt, clutching his ribs. Clint stood alone now, the last pillar of a crumbling empire. His chest heaved, rage boiling in his blood. The gang leader's eyes blazed with something feral, something desperate. "You think this is over?" He spat, gripping his steel bat until his knuckles turned white. "I'll bury you and those mongrels right here." With a primal roar, Clint charged. The bat swung in savage arcs, each strike cracking the air like thunder. Shadow darted in, nipping and retreating, forcing Clint to waste his strength. Titan lunged low, snapping at his legs, but Clint anticipated the move this time. The bat crashed down, glancing off Titan's shoulder with a bone-rattling thud. Titan stumbled, yelping in pain, but recovered instantly, snarling with renewed fury. Maya's jaw tightened, her voice slicing through the chaos. "Hold steady. Wait for the opening." Clint advanced like a beast unleashed, every swing wilder than the last. He smashed a road sign in half, sparks flying. He dented the hood of a parked car, the metal screaming under his blows. The bat became an extension of his rage, and for a moment it seemed unstoppable. But rage has no discipline. Clint's movements grew sloppy, his breath ragged, his swings slower. Shadow darted behind him, Titan circling wide. Maya raised her hand. "Now." Shadow lunged high, jaws locking onto Clint's swinging arm. Titan hit low, slamming into Clint's knees with devastating force. The leader roared, collapsing to the ground, his bat skittering across the asphalt. Clint lay gasping, pinned under two war dogs, his reins shattered. Maya stepped closer, her eyes cold as steel. "Game over, Crusher." The echo of Clint's fall lingered in the night, broken only by the snarls of Shadow and Titan holding him down. For the first time, Ashtonville's self-proclaimed king lay powerless, his steel bat glinting uselessly in the dirt. Headlights appeared at the edge of the road. One car, then another. Within minutes, townsfolk began to gather, drawn by the shotgun blast and the roar of engines earlier. Farmers, shopkeepers, and even the sheriff's deputy stood frozen, watching a sight they never thought possible. Clint Harris, the man who had terrorized them for years, broken on the ground by a lone woman and her dogs. Whispers rippled through the crowd. "Is that Crusher? He's bleeding. Who is she?" Maya stood tall, her shoulders squared, Shadow and Titan poised like sentinels beside her. Dust clung to her boots. A streak of blood ran down her arm, but her presence radiated unshakable strength. She didn't look like a victim. She looked like a commander who had just claimed victory. Clint growled, struggling against the weight of the dogs. "Don't just stand there," he shouted at the crowd. "Help me, she's nothing without them." But no one moved. The townsfolk who had once cowered under his rule now looked at him with something new, not fear, but disgust. Maya's gaze swept over the people. Her voice carried strong and steady. "You've lived under his shadow long enough. Tonight it ends." Shadow growled, pressing Clint deeper into the dirt. Titan's eyes burned, daring him to move. For the first time, the townspeople cheered. The sound rose like a wave, shaking the night air. Clint's face twisted with rage, but his power was gone. The queen of this battlefield wasn't him. It was Maya Johnson. The townspeople's cheers rolled across the night like thunder, a sound Clint had never heard directed against him. Pinned beneath Shadow and Titan, the once feared gang leader thrashed desperately, his pride fighting harder than his body. His gang lay scattered and broken around him, too injured and too afraid to rise. Maya stepped forward, every eye locked on her. The glow of headlights framed her like a figure from legend. Dusty boots planted firm, eyes sharp as steel, her dogs bristling with unyielding loyalty. Clint spat blood onto the asphalt, glaring up at her. "You think this changes anything? I'll come back. I always come back." Maya crouched low, her voice calm but cutting like a blade. "No, Clint. This is the end. Fear ruled this town because people let it. But fear doesn't stand a chance against discipline, or loyalty." She snapped her fingers. Titan released Clint's leg, but Shadow pressed harder on his chest, forcing the leader flat on his back. The German shepherd's teeth hovered inches from Clint's throat, the growl vibrating deep and merciless. Clint's bravado cracked. For the first time, true terror filled his eyes. The sheriff's deputy stepped forward, cuffs in hand, voice trembling. "Maya, step back. We'll take it from here." Maya nodded, giving a sharp command. "Shadow, Titan, stand down." Instantly the dogs obeyed, retreating to her side with military precision. The deputy cuffed Clint, dragging the beaten leader to his feet. The crowd erupted, their cheers shaking the night. Mothers hugged children, old men raised their fists, and for the first time in years, Ashtonville breathed free. Clint locked eyes with Maya one last time, hatred simmering beneath defeat. But Maya only turned away, her voice steady. "The war's over, Crusher. You lost." And with her soldiers at her side, Maya walked into the night, not as a victim, but as the legend who brought a tyrant to his knees.